Good morning and welcome to another episode of Straight Talk Saturday. If you're new here, let me introduce myself. My name is Angela Atkins and I'm an integrative health and nutrition coach over at yourhealthunbound.com. And today I'm going to talk about something that seems to be prevalent in the world, especially in our country right now. And it's something that we can do something about, but many of us are falling victim to having it take over our lives rather than us taking control over it. And because of that, good morning, Sardar. Good to see you. Because of that, I want to give you some options to how to control the toxic stress in our lives. Now, you may not be a person that has this problem. You may not feel overwhelmed by stress, but there are so many people that I encourage you after you see this video that you share it with them, share it on your timeline, post it where you have, access to other social media, because I think it's important that people become aware of how it affects, excuse me, having a little frog in my throat this morning, of how stress affects their bodies, affects their lives, affects us as a community and a nation as whole. And it's grown to be a worldwide problem. This chronic stress that goes on in our lives is truly a major problem that's causing all sorts of other issues. Chronic stress can cause issues such as autoimmune conditions when they're paired with poor health habits, when our lifestyles are contributing more towards a negative aspect than a positive one. Let me take a minute and say hi as people are coming on. Great to see you, Tom and Seb. And Samora, hi. Glad you could join. Michael, good to see you. In this day and age, there is so much that hits us. It's not just one avenue. We have all sorts of avenues that stress is going to hit upon us. We have our own daily family lives that stressful things happen and we have to deal with. We have work lives, social lives, all these things come together. But there are some major statistics that I looked up. I'm going to bring them up so I can cite them correctly for you. It's been noted that 77% of people regularly experience physical symptoms caused by stress. That's a lot. It's over 3/4 of people who have these physical symptoms that can be debilitating if left unchecked. And 73% of people regularly experience psychological stress symptoms. That's also huge because in that realm, people are probably seeking out medications. And that's that constant cycle that goes on. You're contributing to one thing, and then something else tries to mask a symptom by using a medication, and then it snowballs. Things don't get resolved because you're not getting to root cause. And until you get to root cause, you really never get a resolution. And so I just want you to understand that excessive stress is toxic to our minds, our bodies, and even our spirits. And some of these things that are happening today, which are new, relatively speaking, in the terms of years that we've been around in humanity, things like fake news. Now, I don't care which side of the aisle you're on, it doesn't matter, but all these things have been contentious, that we hear things and then someone drums up fake news, which is supposed to excite us in a way that causes some response. Maybe it's to get more clicks, maybe it's to get more likes, maybe it's to get more viewers, more subscribers, whatever it is, but it generates this interest that spreads faster than if it were accurate information. And that is just so unfortunate because we need the truth in our lives. We absolutely need to know the truth to make honest, true decisions for ourselves, for our families, to make the world and our own little world a better place. And what happens when people discover that they've been fooled and it's been fake news? Well, people begin to trust news sources. And so it generates this whole backlash and this anger and fear, and it generates this whole wave of things that really causes stress in our bodies. And this type of stress can lead to feelings of being vulnerable and fear. And all these things, all they do, they're meant to grab our attention. And when they do, they grab our nervous system. And we need to pay attention to how our bodies are responding. Because if we're responding negatively, it is affecting us, as I said, mind, body, and spirit. So if you're watching the news, whether it's on television, social media, it doesn't matter where, but if you find it to be controversial in the sense that it's affecting you negatively, and it's everywhere, we can't get away from it. You pick up a newspaper, you have your cell phone, you check your social media outlets. We interact with this stuff every single day. We are an electronic nation now. And what happens is it's time that when you feel that negativity coming into you, it's time for a digital detox. Seriously, you need to put the phone away, turn the computer off, walk away. It's time to re-engage with people. It's time to talk to someone one-on-one. Talk face-to-face with your spouse, with a friend, with a coworker. One of the things that I find in our work, because we've become so focused on technology, is that we've actually become more separated. Rather than working in teams, unless you work for a very special organization that values team building and working in collaborative environments, many of us get into the job where we're kind of head down focused on the work. And that kind of eliminates other people around us and eliminates that camaraderie, that fellowship that we've had in the past where people worked as units, and there was the water cooler or the coffee clutch or whatever it was that you got together. I find it less and less because people are working harder, working longer, being more overwhelmed because there's so much to do. And so I say, take a moment, get up from your desk. Instead of sending an email, walk to the person you were going to talk to, if it's possible. If they're in the same building or in a close location, have a face-to-face conversation. Stop using media or technology for everything. Use your voice, use your body to get moving. It's so important in this world that we stay connected. And connected means on a personal basis, not connected via some sort of electronic device. Yeah, it's great to text somebody real quick and say, hey, here's a question for you. But if you do that in person, it actually creates this different relationship. There are different signals that your body gets, and it actually reduces stress if it's a good positive interaction. Let me take a minute and say hi to a few more people. Hey, Mark, glad you joined us. Nelia and Toby, Michael, thank you again. I'm so happy you're here this morning because this is a really important topic. And as I said, not everybody hears this on a regular basis, that the things that are causing them stress is because those media outlets know what excites the body, what excites the mind. They do psychological studies. They're good at their jobs. If they didn't know what it was that was going to sell, they wouldn't stay in business. And you'll find that's true around the world, that if you can't sell properly, if you can't get the word out in a way that people respond to it, then you're just not going to be heard. And so what I find is that instead of people talking honestly to one another, they're yelling and screaming at one another because they feel unheard. And we need to bring it back down. We need to stop that. We need to honor the fact that we are just human. We're not going to do everything perfectly, and it's going to bother some people sometimes, but be honest about it. If you have misspoken, say, I'm sorry. Be genuine. If someone has mistreated you, you can ask for an apology. It's okay. We don't have to live in a perfect world, and we don't have to expect people to be perfect. But in the sense of social responsibility, I believe that our news outlets, whether they're, again, television, paper, social media, it doesn't matter. They have to be socially responsible. And if they're not being socially responsible, meaning that they are giving us true facts, true information, unbiased, Yeah, that's the thing. I'm going to go off on a little rant for just a second. It just hit me that the one thing that we're missing these days is that unbiased, objective journalism. I find it so rare these days that you don't find opinions laced everywhere. It's leaning left, leaning right, leaning towards some sort of faction that is going to incite the other side or incite the side they're talking to move to action. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. This is their goal. They want to incite you to take some action, to follow through, to be on their side, whatever it is. And if you find that really that agitates you by their outrageousness, then you really need to stop buying into them. Don't just go, oh, that just made me so angry, and then talk about it all day long to everybody you meet, because you are just fostering that. What you need to do is dial it back and say, how did that affect me? If it truly is something that's causing you just overwhelming stress, then maybe you need to reconsider, do I need to watch that? Do I need to read that? Is it going to give me value? Is it going to be a positive effect on my life? I'm going to ask right now if any of you have had an issue with overwhelming stress. And I know that many times that people think, there's a poll in the chat box, and I'm going to publish this now so you can respond to me. Have you ever felt overwhelming stress? I mean, is it something that's regularly bombarding you with today's media, just life in general? So much to do, not enough time to do it. Sometimes you don't have the right answers. Sometimes you do, but then you're given conflicting choices by whomever you're asking advice from. So if you go to the chat and type, answer the question, do you feel overwhelmed by stress on a regular basis? I'd like to know, are you representative of the average public? Because there are so many people that already feel overwhelmed and stressed. I'd like to see what your answer is. I'm going to move on, but if you give an answer to that, we'll come back to that a little later. What I was saying about the media is if their outrageousness overwhelms you and you stop buying into it, what do? How do you act socially responsible? Well, the first thing you can do is you can contact that local or national broadcast station and say, I don't like this kind of thing, and I am not going to watch it any longer. And believe me, if enough people do it, this is where grassroots movements have really take hold. People say, I've had enough. And they say, don't do this to me anymore. You're just causing havoc in my life. And if that's not enough, you can contact the various sponsors that are shown on those television broadcasts or on media outlets that are sponsored by someone and say, you're sponsoring something that is really causing havoc in our lives, that's creating negativity. We want more positivity. We want to get back to a unified United States. We want to get back to a unified world. We want to get to the point where peaceful and harmony is something that is treasured and endeared by many. And I'm just so passionate about it. It makes me furious to sit and watch these things and say, why is this happening to us? Why are we not getting what we need? Instead of some sort of excitatory example, let's talk in real words. Let's speak about truth. Let's speak with our dollars. If we don't support the television stations, if we don't buy the newspapers, if we don't view the media outlets and click the likes or give them whatever it is they're asking for, it's going to send a message. So rather than let it affect you negatively, turn off that electronic device, walk away from it and just leave it. Go outside for a walk, enjoy the fresh air, enjoy nature. It is so difficult these days to feel like we're without something. I see everybody walking around with a cell phone. Almost no one, including children, are ever anywhere without a cell phone in their hands. And Yes, I understand it's become a necessity in some respects because we use it for everything. But that does not mean that we need it 24/7. What we need is time to detoxify from this. We need time to reduce that stress, put it away, go do something physical, go do something creative, go do something that's socially uplifting for you. It's so important for us to just cleanse our minds, cleanse our bodies, and cleanse our spirits. And that's one way of doing it, is a digital detox. And I know you're here with me on social media, and I do appreciate that. But after this, share this with others and say, hey, after you watch this, isn't it a good idea? Let's go for a walk together if you're in the same area. Or let's take walks separately and then talk about how it makes us feel afterwards. And we can always engage on the telephone because we're at least talking to a live voice. It's not some disembodied text that appears on a screen. It's really important for us to connect as people again. We need to have that human, honest connection. So we need to overcome this tendency to dwell on things like fake news and fear mongering. And we do it with things, with activities that are positive and uplifting, like humor and just doing something you found fun in the past. And one of the things you really need to do as a family is to digitally detox together. Turn off the TV, especially during family times like dinner. You really need that time together to bond, to feel like a unit, because that's where the strength comes in building our children for the next generation. We need to fortify them to be able to overcome these types of negative behaviors that are out there and are targeting them too. So as I just plead with you, try a digital detox at least for a day. Just go without it and feel that way again, where you don't have to be tied to something to feel good. That you can feel good in nature, you can feel good with your friends, your family, and let it all go. Don't discuss the things that are causing the anxiety, causing the stress. There are other things that cause this overwhelming stress that becomes toxic, and they're people. People can have a negative impact. And those people who act negatively all the time have the most impact on everyone that they meet. And when I feel that it's having an effect on me, I have to make a decision, because being around these people can leave a lasting negative impression on you, causing those toxic levels of stress to increase. I refer to them as junk people. And the reason why I do that is because just like junk in my house, I get rid of it. I get rid of those junk people. I don't need them in my life. And sometimes you can say, well, I have to be around certain people. But think about it. If you're around the type of people who put you down regularly, who ridicule your dreams, they always think something's going to go wrong in every situation, and they create fear and anxiety. They just like living in a state of chaos, and they're trying to bring you into their world because it makes them feel empowered. They feel like that's the way everyone should feel, and you don't have to. You don't let them bring you down. You need to stand in your own power and say, that's not me. That's not part of my world. And I don't want to be where you are. And you don't have to verbally say that to the person. You just have to be strong enough in yourself to be able to disassociate yourself from that. You want to associate with people who are going to lift you up. You want to surround yourself with people who avoid this toxic stress. Toxic people should be avoided at all costs. They just drive your stress levels over the top, and we don't need it. We have too much already. And you may recognize people in your life who are already like this. They're negative all the time. They play the victim, or they're the pessimist. Everything in the world bad happens to them. And then there are people that life is just so crazy and out of control, and they want to suck you into their world. And then there are people who are just plain cruel. Get rid of these people. Get the junk people out of your life. It'll do you so much better. Replace them. Find new friends if you have to. Yes, they can be in your family, and you can choose to associate with them on a limited basis on what you can tolerate by not pushing your stress levels over the top. I know it's not always possible to avoid them, but develop a strategy that limits your exposure. Whatever happens, try to stay calm. I know they might push your buttons, people do that, but if you stay calm and don't buy into their negativity, then you just want to walk away as fast as you can. Because removing yourself from the situation early on is a way of protecting yourself and respecting yourself. You do not have to take this on. You do not have to be the victim of somebody else's negativity, of somebody else's cruelty. Respect yourself. Say, I am worth more than this, and walk away as best as you can in whatever situation it is. Now, going back to what I talked about earlier in the workplace, severe signs of stress are always shown and are documented regularly about burnout. Burnout is just the overwhelming amount of stress you have at work that impairs people. I've got a few more statistics for you. That 87% of workers are emotionally disconnected, significantly reducing their workplace productivity. That's 87%. That's huge. That translates into $300 billion a year that employers pay in costs for stress-related health care and missed work. What are we doing as a society that we're so stressed out? People are feeling overworked, lacking control in their jobs. They feel disrespected, not supported in their career goals. It goes on, but what do we do with this? So a few things you do have control over. There are things such as if you work too far away from your job, maybe you need to consider altering your commute. Can you move closer to your work? Can you find a job closer to home? Can you telecommute? There are always options to pursue. Not maybe one or all may be valid and maybe not. Maybe you have to find another one. But just because something is causing undue stress for you doesn't mean it's the only thing you have to do. I have to drive this long to get to my job because of whatever. Maybe you find something else that helps you. Finding relaxing audiobooks while you're driving, something to take your mind off of the chaos around you, but still letting you be aware of where you're driving and how you're driving. Putting yourself in that stressful situation on a daily basis compounds that stress level, that toxic stress, and sets you up for other illnesses. It can, cause hypertension, put you in line for chronic fatigue, depression, and so many others. And compounded by other lifestyle choices, it could lead to conditions that seriously impact your life and cause you to be unwell. So all I ask is for you to take time, evaluate your situation. Don't settle for what is. Don't look at, I can do nothing about it, because you can, both as individuals and as communities. If we get together and say, no more, I don't want this negativity, whether it's at work, at home, in our society, in our nation as general, we need to say, stop. Stop forcing us into this toxic stress levels by all this negativity that's coming at us, whether it's fake news, junk people, your work is overwhelming you, whatever it is. We need to step back, evaluate what we're doing, evaluate what our options are. And it may not be a straight line to an end result, but you have to begin somewhere. So start with talking to people you can trust, someone who can help, maybe a career advisor, a trusted business associate, a friend who understands the situation, maybe networking groups, anything that's going to get you something positive to look at if you can't come up with an option of your own. But don't just settle for what you have, that's all there is. Because you can dream and you can find a path to get to that dream. Many people do, and you can too. What you need to do is stop struggling with this overwhelming stress. Stop struggling with day-to-day things that are bringing you down. If you're watching something and it causes toxic stress, meaning you're overwhelmed by it, you feel your blood pressure rising, you want to go scream, then stop. Step back from it. Turn off that media. Take a deep breath. Respect yourself. That's what's important in this. We need to learn self-respect. When we respect ourselves, we're more likely to engender respect and give respect. And when there's more respect out there, there's going to be less of this negativity. More positivity is what we need. So practice self-care. Remove yourself periodically from electronic devices and all this social media, all the web interaction that we have. Do a detox of basic things. Give yourself time to relax, drink fresh water, eat good food, enjoy the sunshine. Allow your body to slow down and get into a natural rhythm. Not the rhythm that is gendered by toxic stress, which is fast and overwhelming and just too much to take. Just try simple techniques. Try breathing slowly and deeply. If you just sit there and take in 5 deep breaths very slowly, in for a count of 5, hold for a count of 5, and release for a count of 5, it is almost impossible to be stressed out during that process. Your body will normally and naturally calm down during that process, but you have to be intentional about it. Intentionally slow down your body, breathe deeply, relax, give in to that sensation. It really is a positive thing for you. So I'm going to give you something that's going to help you with those techniques. I'm going to put in the chat box a free download for you to reset your stress for success. It just offers simple techniques that will help you begin the process of reducing stress and placing yourself in the position of being more successful. Because when you do that, you're going to find your life changes. It's going to be slow. It's going to be incremental, but you build upon it. When you won't allow toxic stress to enter your life in whatever fashion that you've chosen, you'll find that it's easier to manage in the other aspects of your life. Pick one, focus on that, let it go, breathe, follow the guidelines in the download, and then move on to the next thing. So once you have one conquered, make it a habit. So it comes up again, say, I've already taken care of that. I realize if I go to this site or read this newspaper or whatever it is, it causes stress because it affects me in a negative way, then you've already conquered it. You don't ever have to go back to it. So let go, give your body a chance to rest, recover, reduce your stress, and you'll be far more successful. So I'm going to go ahead and put that link into the chat box. Feel free to download this, and I hope you just let me know how this makes you feel, how you respond to stress when you have techniques that help you overcome them and be the best you can be. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. I hope you'll come back next week and we'll talk again. Take care.